Hello everyone, this is Beastly Eel here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Invincible. Now, this is the last episode before the break, and they will not be providing the last four episodes until after the new year. And this episode was really dark and depressing. So, there's a lot of stuff that happened, and it's going to definitely foreshadow for what's coming, but overall, I highly recommend you watching it just because it takes a lot to make you feel bad for the villain of the last season, and I think they did a good job to make you at least feel a little bit bad for him. So the episode starts with we see Nolan after what happened on Earth, and apparently he was just done. He was done with everything and ready to end his own life. He was ready to get sucked into a black hole until he saw he saw a spaceship that was getting sucked in, which had the bug people that he is now the monarch of. He got them out of there and flew them back to their planet. Apparently, what happened there, we'll get into just a bit. Debbie was really down and out about dealing with the whole, um, basically dealing with Nolan. The fact that she really didn't know him and realized that he wasn't really the person she fell in love with. It gets to the point where it takes until not Cecil, it takes the uniform designer to come in to explain to her like you are tougher than Nolan. He's invincible, therefore he had everything easy for him. You were vulnerable and still stood up to him and made Mark the way he is today, and because of that, saved countless lives. You never needed Nolan because you could do it all by yourself. You know what? I think I think she really needed to hear that because what happens next is she calls Cecil and basically says, "You can keep your money. We don't work for you anymore. I'll figure out my stuff on my own." He tries to convince her otherwise. She basically tells him to go F off, and they move on from there. We have Eve going through a tough time because of her powers and basically causing some damage to people. She goes back to her old secret lair. I was trying to think of a better word to phrase it. It's basically like their version of the T Tower, Titan's Tower. Sorry, where she's in the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, apparently a villain is trying to steal the power source there, and she decides to go crazy on him, and because of it, causes a lot of damage to other people. She blames herself for it and really just wants to be left alone. In fact, she goes back home to mom and dad, which is really, really depressing because I think she's really starting to think that her powers are a burden and it's going to cause her to cause more damage to people around her, which is just really sad. Um, what else? I'm trying to think. Oh, and then we have Donald. Donald realizing that he's not who he thought he was, and he figures out that he was killed by Omni-Man, or his back broken by Omni-Man. And then what happened next was he then blew himself up to stop Nolan. And it wasn't enough. But apparently he's trying to figure out who he is. So he goes into the bathroom and stabs himself, and he was able to bleed. But what he noticed on his blade was it was bent. So now he's really worried about what's going to happen next. But he gets called by Cecil because there was a bigger matter happening, and that's how his part of the story ends. We also have the clone, um, who knows he's a clone because of the fact of the half burnt melted guy is looks so different than the other one. So he basically is the regular looking clone is basically the slave to the burnt one until the point where that clone decides to kill him with poison and realize that they're going to start doing what they did before and make clones and make them fight or not realize who actually is the clone, which I find so interesting. But I guess it works for them. The other thing too is that we now go back to Mark and Omni-Man, and apparently the reason why Nolan sent him there was to help him protect his new son. And well, I'll say this: we definitely got to see a side of Mark that we've not seen yet, in the sense of wanting to help these people, but also hating his dad at the same time, but also loving him. And it was a lot of back and forth, and he finally decides to help, even though he states that he wasn't going to be strong enough to beat a Viltrumite. Um, Nolan explains to him that, well, I'll train you. But before they even get the chance, three soldiers slam into the planet. All three come out and start fighting. Well, Nolan starts to fight. Um, he orders Invincible to get his brother and his new wife out of there. So he goes to fly away, goes into a cavern. They go to basically to safety, and that's when another Viltrumite comes in and starts beating up on Mark with ease. Nolan comes in and starts beating the guy up and slices him open. The two of them leave, and then start looking for the last two. They start fighting. Mark is getting beat up bad, and Nolan is really holding his own for the most part. He explains to he explains to Mark that you cannot hold back anymore. You're not as weak as you think you are. You are stronger, and you need to stop holding back. And once he does so, he actually starts beating on the woman really. I don't want to say easy. He didn't wasn't able to beat her easily. Nolan basically destroys the other guy's brain, and Marcus beats the woman up to the point where he could have killed her, but did not because he hesitated, and then she then stabbed him in the gut with her knife. That's when Nolan came in and killed her. And then the guy that we thought he killed first comes back and kicks him so hard in the back it sounds like it breaks his spine, where the guy dies. Viltrumites come down to the planet, take Nolan away, and then explain to Invincible that he is safe for now and that he is to go back to Earth and really make them want to either join the Empire or destroy them all. Mark basically tells him to go F off. He gets punched so hard, I think his jaw's broken, and um, he's ordered to go back to Earth to then colonize it, and that the Viltrumites will be back to check his progress. And that is honestly how it ends. Um, I mean, we're gonna have several weeks where we're gonna have to wait to see what happens next, which does suck. But it seems like we're going to probably not have the Viltrumites actually make it to Earth in the next half. We're probably going to be seeing more of the interdimensional guy, where we might see a bunch of Invincibles come out to try to fight our Invincible. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go because it has two really big options. It has the Viltrumites coming in to destroy Earth, and then there's also the idea of the multiverse coming into play as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Um, Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.